Dead Draw Gaming. Like no one ever was. Dead Draw Gaming. Like no one ever was.
Welcome back to round 2 of the Madison Regional here. I am one of the hosts here, Jeffrey Saran. On my right is Kirk Dube Snacks Dubé. How you liking the regional so far, man? What have you seen?
A lot of interesting stuff. I think Sam Chen's finish at the Mexico special event with fully Psychic Malamar, I think is really making waves today. Maybe scaring some people off Buzzwole, unrelated to what our first round matchup was. However, there's a lot of dark horses coming up. We've got what people call the power triangle, the Triforce for all intents and purposes. Zoro decks, Buzzwole decks, Psychic Malamar based decks, and kind of how those compete within each other. However, what we're really excited to bring you for round 2 is 2 decks that maybe can take advantage of the Power 3 and keep those as good matchups for them moving forward through the day.
Yeah, I think going off what you're saying about the what we call the triangle or the trifecta of the TCG right now between the Buzzwole, Zoroark, and this Malamar deck, there are also a couple tier 2, I guess we can classify them as, rogue concepts that can maybe hop in there and steal the light from these top 3 decks here. And we're really excited to bring this next match. Currently, the players are getting a deck check, so while we're waiting for that, we're going to kind of do a little background on ourselves. But I think Kirk actually has a recently cool accomplishment that you should probably mention.
Yeah, we'll spin you a yarn real quick. So first full competitive season, managed to qualify, get my invite in Roanoke, Virginia, finishing 64th on the nose, bringing home some packs and those 50 championship points to get me to limp over 400. So pretty excited about that, excited to play in my first Worlds event. But other than that, running Super Oddcast, trying to get the information out to the peoples, and fortunately being in the booth with you all today.
Absolutely, and bringing that back up there, yes, so we both are co-hosts of the Super Oddcast. If you guys haven't found us on SoundCloud, iTunes, all the fun stuff there, giving us the little shady plug there. It is what it is.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, if they're going to put us in front of the camera and tell us to talk, might as well get those plugs in. Looks like we do have our players shuffling up right now. Of course, after a deck check, your deck is pretty much in exact order. So bringing you table 91, the people chirping in the chat for it, and we agree. Michael Slutsky on the left of your screen playing classic Greninja Break, and Ross Cawthon with the spice.
I love the deck that he brought here. I love the uniqueness that Ross kind of brings to the game. And I'll go ahead and go over his deck. He dubbed it Counter Spread 2. I'm going to call it Butter because it spreads on anything.
It's so good. And, of course, standard Greninja, but Michael, always the clever one. The comment, dupes me daddy.
Dupes me daddy.
And that's the referring to, obviously, water duplicates that Greninja wants to pull off at the start of the game to set itself up.
There is a unique card that Michael does have in his deck that I'm curious how he's going to use in this match in particular. What card is that, Kirk?
That is one Mew EX, which is something we don't commonly see in Greninja decks. Why do you think he decided to play one copy of that today?
A couple of ideas come to mind here. Intrinsically, it's obviously for the Buzzwole matchup, and I wonder if it's one of those things where he wants to be able to Moonlight Slash for one shot with the Mew EX. And that's one thing there. Maybe Shadow Stitching in certain places to where he can't get Bloodthirsty Eyes and still hit for potentially 140 damage, which could add up after a Giant Water Shuriken. So there's a couple interesting math there to around to try to figure out alongside Michael.
With Baby Buzzwole, being able to hit that with an efficient psychic attacker and take that KO, as you said, with Moonlight Slash, fairly important. Again, we're going to try and see how Michael can navigate that 3-4 prize rough waters that we see. Well, actually won't come into play here, but that's something he's going to have to do throughout the day today. Ross playing an unorthodox counterbox deck, really utilizing the strength of counter energy.
Yeah, and to Ross' success, he always plays unique decks like this. And this will kind of emphasize his spread as well as counter attackers. So you're typical from what we've seen in the past, Cobalion, Sudowoodo, Shaman, and he's also using some spread attackers like Latios, which is a psychic type attacker. 90X can put some really strong pressure on a Buzzwole GX.
Exactly, really taking advantage of the counter energy, the boost that can provide on his 90X GX attackers to be able to attack with that there. And Shaman, very exciting.
Very exciting. Shaman's going to be a critical asset for him in this match up here. And actually, this is all counter for us. I'm seeing counter energy, counter catcher, counter attackers. he's ready to flip the switch on this matchup here any second.
I think it's safe to say why he named it counter spread. One more thing I want to highlight about Michael's list is 2-star you. Typically you see the 1/1 line to make room. 2-star you really putting a big emphasis on getting to that Starmie for that Space Beacon ability.
Space Beacon ability is very strong for Greninja, especially in the late game after you have gone through a lot of your second energies. And at that point, once you have your breaks out, you can just toss anything and just get your energies back at that point.
Exactly. Toss anything, two energies back, Ninja Star. Start taking knockouts.
Naruto on the field.
We, him and Han, probably telling a grand old tale of their day so far. Ross, kind of old guard in the game.
Yep, he's been playing the game for quite some time. One of the more familiar names that everyone, especially new players get in the game, can kind of see some solid play from. Again, I think one result that everyone knows him for is playing the Truth back in, 2011, 2012 Worlds. Forgot which one, but that was sort of his a deck that everyone was so excited about that he brought to that World Championship.
One thing I do want to bring up with Ross, quite an accomplishment, and I might have to have PokeStats double check me on this, but I'm pretty sure he's qualified for the last 43 Pokemon World Championships in a row, one of the longest streaks in the game. I may have rounded up
slightly,
but something close to that.
I might have to add some zeros, something along those lines there, but Ross is very, very strong in the game.
Notable timeless wonder, Ross Cawthon.
So I have to ask though, how do you feel about this matchup? Who do you think will take this one?
I really think once Michael, if he can get kind of avoid that, as everybody knows, the Greninja start. If he can really get set up, start leveraging Space Beacon, those Ninja Stars, spreading some damage around, I think Ross's attackers are just kind of soft overall. And if he can mitigate the use of that Shaman and the counter energy, and really Ross's kind of comeback plan, I can see Michael running away with this one.
I have to 100% agree with you out there. Looking at Ross's list right now, there aren't really Greninja techs minus the Shaman. There is no Giratina promo, which is essential for the Greninja matchup. And also, Espeon EX is not in the deck, which you typically see in your spread decks. So without that, after the spread, he doesn't have the capability of taking multiple knockouts.
Yes, so we see Michael starting with Tapu Fini and a Cynthia. Not precisely what you want to start with. The frogs, you want to actually get those on the board.
This is probably throwing Ross off incredibly because Tapu Fini, he's reading a card, trying to see what it does, and it's really good in his Greninja deck. But as of right now, Ross has no idea what Mike's playing. And neither does Mike to Ross's
Here
answer.
we go. We got a reader, boys.
This is going to be great.
To Ross's credit, I highly doubt he doesn't know what Tapu Fini GX does. That is rough. Michael, no frogs on the bench, pass. That is absolutely not what you want to see.
Yeah, you immediately want to get those two Frogies out, just kind of get the immediate setup there. But, fortunately for Mike, it's just a Tapu Fini start. Hopefully he has another draw support in his hand, as we didn't get a chance to look. But double Rainbow Energy drop with an Ultra Ball.
That's going to be interesting, especially because since Michael doesn't have the best setup, if Ross goes ahead and prizes, he won't be able to use those counter energies efficiently. And getting rid of rainbows, which otherwise would make him a little bit more efficient, could be a little rough for him.
I think he actually optimized the strategy based around this because he does play 2 Special Charge to recover those energies. So I think he's in his head right now. He's like, oh, I think I'm fine. Just get rid of these for the time being and just recover them later if needed.
And oftentimes what you see, he might have the double colorless in hand and the Special Charge already. So he's saying, okay, these are expendable resources now. Let's get set up. Let's go. What do you think he's going to pull here? Maybe a Bridget to really set up his board? No, prioritizing Tapu Koko.
Yeah, I think the immediate thought here is just to, spread the butter and get the damage around, even though there's only one Tapu Fini out. But like you go back to what you're saying, he did have a Special Charge in hand just to immediately discard those resources and bring them back.
I'm thinking that he's getting the Tapu Koko. I think Ross knows full well what deck plays one Tapu Fini GX, and getting those Tapu Koko spreads, covering a broader base than what the Latios can do, might be worth his while here, especially because Michael's start has been so feeble.
And there it is. The
boy.
hand sticker. I didn't see a high five. Okay, there it is.
Michael goes for it. Denied.
No.
Denied.
Man.
Hearts shattering all over the world right now for Michael Slutsky.
We need the slow violin playing right now in the background.
Just the smallest violin. I wouldn't be surprised if Ross has a big old grin on his face, and I just made you look foolish. Can't even give the kid a high five after a Tapu Lele pass, or excuse me, a Tapu Fini pass start. Evo Soda off the top, not gonna do much here, and another Cynthia. Shuffle up good, kid, because you're gonna need some cards to put on that bench. This is.
And honestly, it's kind of obviously more mediocre on Michael's side, but Ross only has a Koko, Latios, no energy, which I don't think there's any reason to attach energy at this point, and a River Raid to Float Stone. So while he's kind of set up, he's still kind of behind the game too. There's no damage spread, and not much going on to really get too far ahead, but it's only 2 turns in, so.
Right. It's fair to say that Ross does not have the start that he maybe historically would want. However, Mike definitely does not.
Mm-hmm.
We see an Ultra Ball, and this is going to be a big one. I think he also has a Sycamore in hand for next turn. So a Frog here is what my heart tells me.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and you know, the good thing about this, Mike is pretty safe from benching at just the 1 Froakie, because there isn't anything immediate on Ross's side that can just knock it out right away.
Correct. We'd have to see kind of, the Shaman come down, Energy, Guzma. Like, that's a lot of resources that Ross would have to expend to get one Frog off the bench. However, if Michael can't get down to Froakie here, that might be the play.
It also depends here, and I think Mike's knows the deck well enough to not attach a Water Energy as an instance because of a potential Tapu Lele DC play. I can't really tell if he's playing the new 70 HP Froakie or not, but it would be an instance there to where, going back to what we mentioned in the last round with the different rock roughs, the same thing with the Froakies. If
you have a Splash Energy, do you put that on the Frog this turn, although it turns on the Tapu Lele and things? Would you do that? Obviously, he does.
I do not, because I think that if you look at the side of the board right now, you see the obvious strategy here is a spread. And with that in mind, there's no, go back to what we're pointing out, there's no immediate threat to this Froakie. I think the Froakie is fair to say that you can bench it and not have any issues going, leaving it there.
We see a Tapu Fini hitting for 20, opting not to use the option to switch his attacker with a benched Pokemon. Back over to Ross, who's got to be feeling good getting out of that turn with just 20 damage on a Latios.
Yeah.
We see Choice Band, one of the only Pokemon in Michael's deck that is susceptible to that.
Yeah, that's very true there. Michael, I don't believe he only runs the 1 Tapu Lele as well, so this, and the Mew EX that we mentioned earlier, which if hopefully Michael does not bring that down here with that Latios out there with the Choice Band, because that would be a one-shot on that Mew immediately.
Yeah, that's not a recipe for success, and Michael knows it. He's going to try and stay away from that card like the plague. However, what Michael would like to see here is maybe a Frogadier, maybe another Froakie, literally anything. I think he's grasping at straws here. He needs a good 6 off the Zen. Mew EX coming off in an untimely manner for him right here.
We need some of that Dupes Me Daddy action here next turn, definitely,
yes.
from Slutsky.
He is going heavy Dupes Me Daddy here. Ross getting his 6 cards, kind of keeping him close to the chest. Can't really see what he's got going on there. Another Latios down. Yes, commits to it. Still no energy, I don't believe. So we've got a slow burn here, folks.
It's quite a stalemate here, kind of like the old Western times where you're just sitting there staring at each other trying to figure out who's going to make that first move.
Slutsky with an N, digging for an energy here because he can. I do believe Tapu Fini has that 1 retreat,
yep.
And he is definitely going to want to go, Dupes Me Daddy this round.
Dupes next with the Dupes Me Daddy. Can't get enough of it.
A lot of shuffling up for the first 3 turns of the game.
Yeah, I will credit right now. Everyone is hitting their draw supporters, and unfortunately for Mike, he's going to get there. He just need that 1 energy.
He is hitting draw supporters and legitimately nothing else. So we'll see what this 6 brings. Frogadier, not what you want to see.
There it is.
And just a sigh of relief as he announces water duplicates for 2, because he has a Frogadier in his hand.
And I did see that he has an N in his hand also, so after the Dupes Me Daddy play, sorry. I gotta say it every time, but it's not Water Duplicates anymore, it's Dupes Me Daddy. That we can see the string of Greninjas coming out here very shortly.
Yeah, and this is kind of what we were mentioning before. Michael, super anemic start. However, Ross unable to capitalize and really put the screws to him. And now Michael has the opportunity to set up. We do know he has a Greninja in hand and can really start storming back into this game in a very intense fashion.
Well, here's the tough thing about this matchup, right? So on Ross's side, he's also built like Greninja. You're here for the late game. You're spreading damage. You're setting up for the counterattack later on. You're getting hit early. And, Greninja, in the same effect, is I'm going to get there. And when I get there, I'm knocking down walls.
Ninja Star, all over the field. And an N. Here we go. Everybody getting a lot of shuffle practice in this round. Keep your eyes peeled, folks, because they've been ending for 6 very often.
Very often.
And like I said before, hitting draw supporters, but just into next draw supporters, but not exactly what they're looking for. So hopefully Ross can get. I won't even call it a fresh 6. We'll say any 6 that allow him to do something.
Yeah, he really starts spreading the damage here now at this point. He has 3 Frogadiers out. I mean, and I believe it's 2 Greninjas he got.
2 Greninjas off of that
end.
with a splash energy. And did Ross whiff the energy again? I do not see one in his hand right now.
This is very unfortunate. Ross does run 8 energies. That would be, or actually 4. That would be useful in this case for Latios to do his spread damage. But he hasn't seen a single double colorless at all this game.
We do see Parallel City in Ross's hand. Would be nice maybe to stem the amount of cards. Oh, we see a Rainbow Energy on Latios. Would be nice to see Ross maybe stem the development on Michael's side by limiting his bench, or even limiting that damage, because Ross's damage output right now,
There's a couple interesting things that can happen here this next turn, right? So Latios goes down to 80 HP now, so Michael can evolve and hit and attack with Moonlight Slash to just take out the Latios, essentially wasting that Rainbow attachment. Because from what I've seen from Ross now, he's kind of just like, I got to get some energy on here. Maybe we can see that Lagoon Flight attack hitting for 70 on his Greninja.
Good night. We're looking at this right now, and Greninja historically wants to Shuriken and Shadow Stitch. The only ability that Ross has on his side of the board is Noctillery, and his hand is kind of gummed up anyways. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Michael switch gears, say Shadow Stitching, this might not be the game for that. Let's go in with some Moonlight Slashes, let's crank out some real damage.
And Ross going with the Leyla Healer, knowing that potentially there could be a Shadow Stitch next turn to prevent that from happening. I'm curious if he's going to play that Parallel City or not. I would assume, why not? Keep the board on Michael's side just at 3, and can't get any additional Froakies down to recover off Splash Energy, anything along those lines there. So I definitely think we see the Parallel City come down.
Yeah, Tapu Fini really being a liability on Michael's board. You know, Greninja really leveraging all its one prize attackers to kind of swing that prize trade mid-late game once it does get set up. A Parallel City here, kind of locking it in, would be tough, because if Michael gets one more bench Pokemon, you know, that's an expendable resource for him. We see that Tapu Lele, Cynthia, really Ross giving himself an option for next turn. He did already Abyssal Hand, I believe, for 1. And no Parallel City, just a pass. The first Brooklet Hill not coming down. He's got a pair in there of Brooklet Hills. I wouldn't mind seeing him get another Froakie right here. Maybe even the Staryu. Possibly. He does already have 1 energy. Well, don't need to Brooklet for it if you just got it.
So, a question for you. I know you are an advocate for taking notes during a game. We see Ross with the notepad, taking some small notes there. What do you think he's kind of putting down there? Are these card counts? Are these what your prizes are? What's the typical goal of?
So when I'm taking notes, what I try and do is focus on, okay, what are my key prizes?
Quick thing there. I do not think Ross has his prizes set out. From what I'm seeing on the board right now, I do not see any prize cards for Ross Cawthon.
We're going to take just a quick second here. Can you check to make sure Ross has prizes set out?
Ross has it, yeah. Yeah, from what I'm looking at here on the board, unless they're under the discard pile on the right-hand side, he actually does not have any prize cards out.
So we're going to make sure to get that tightened up here. We're going to keep going as if things are good. We're getting the thumbs up. They're just off screen, so that's totally fine. Much better to double check now than to get caught up the creek later on and realizing that that's a big gaffe right there. Kind of lost in the action, so we see, I think what we got was a Shadow Stitch last turn, yes, the 40 damage. Ross going into his turn, quick Cynthia, shuffle up, drawing 6.
So I think we left off at also was the notepad question. I kind of cut that off there. So what is his thoughts here? Like, what is he putting down?
Keeping probably close track of his key prizes, and typically when I'm taking notes is to keep track of what's in my opponent's discard, so I don't have to reach over and take inventory of that over and over again. Because in matchups, they're typically key cards that you're looking at or looking for, trying to keep track of, and it's much easier to just kind of have a running tally than doing it over and over again.
We do see the Lagoon Flight, that solid 70 damage from Latios. I feel like you won't say that too much on stream, but
yeah, I don't think Lagoon Flight gets named too much. Brooklet Hill, Staryu, time.
Is the board's getting there, and it's getting every step closer, a little bit scarier for Ross on his end.
So what we see here, what kind of Ross not playing that Parallel City last turn?
Yep.
Now there's just key Pokemon all on Michael's bench. Obviously, this Feeny, that's an easy pitch if he doesn't see him using the GX attack this game. However, losing a Staryu, losing another Frog, that's a big deal.
And I wanted to ask why he kind of held off on it, to kind of let him build his board first before immediate playing it. Because one, it would have got bumped off right away by the Brooklyn Hill, and two, like I said, let the board build and make a choice on what to discard.
And that's probably a big consideration. We see the Splash Energy coming down. Michael not hitting a break. However, we do know he Ultra Balled one early in the game to try and get something set up. I believe to set down the first frog, his first Froakie.
And here comes the potential. I can't believe it's not butter spread on all of these water Pokemon over here. That if he can hit this DC.
Well, we see a counter energy hiding in the back there,
Yep.
but as we mentioned before, not really a matchup where he'll be able to use that a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, we could see here where the Bridget for the Shaman could come right out right now, where that counter energy come to effect, or we're going to see it just be attached to Coco and spread the damage.
So he made a quick check of his notes, just making sure what's prized, what have I already taken inventory of. Maybe I know what I'm looking for, but I just want to double check something. Typically, these searches, long searches, reserved for the first turn of the game, but reasonable amount of time. Knew he was grabbing Tapu Koko, snagged it, and we're moving on, my friends.
So with the Bridget, there's no draw spore left. I'm trying to see if there's a card count to see if he's able to Abyssal Hand to dig for just the DCE. But it looks like we might. I'm curious. He's going to spread. He's going to come in with the Cabalion to attack. There's a couple different decisions here. I would like to say he's going to spread damage here.
Okay, we see the counter energy come down. Field blower in hand, and he's just spreading.
This is a lot of work here, a lot of risk work out here just to kind of get a dice out when Coco comes out.
A lot of shuffling this game, a lot of dice coming out. Counter energy, as we said, is active.
That is double Evo Soda in his hand, so we're going to see 2 breaks coming out.
And this is where it gets a little rough for Ross, I think. If we see a Greninja break this turn, nope.
Change his mind. I thought he was going to go for the initial two breaks, but looks like he's going to get the base Greninjas out first.
Allow him to shuffle, or to, free retreat into other attackers, mitigating kind of, the heavily damaged one is kind of up front right now. It is holding all the energy, so probably going to see an evolution on that. Sling a Shuriken somewhere, and Michael's now he's just off to the races.
Yeah, he's just in the driver's seat, kind of just taking control of the wheel, and going back to him, double Evo Soda. That card is so powerful in the current format with how many stage 1s and evolution decks there are. It just controls the game so much and gets you set up so quickly.
A big Sycamore here after playing down that Starmie. So we are going to be able to Space Beacon. We are, and an Enhanced Hammer. Just crushing. Well, I guess crushing hammer would have been key for a pun there, but yeah, we just missed opportunity by there, Kirk. Way to go, kid. We see the Enhanced Hammer on the counter energy. We see a Space Beacon for the water and discard.
So where do you think the Shuriken's going to go? I would like to say is the Octillery, or maybe the Tapu Lele on bench, actually.
Maybe the Tapu Lele. I feel like since he can control the Abyssal Hand through Shadow Stitch,
yep.
That maybe you're not too concerned about that.
So that's a good point there.
Michael doing some thing, and look at me go. He goes, nope. I want to start taking that out. I want to start Shadow Stitching. Once I knock that out, maybe with another Shuriken.
Now you can actually start being a little more aggressive without the draw power. That does make sense.
Exactly.
So what is Ross looking here at this point? I mean, obviously another DC to keep spreading, but he's honestly behind right now. He's already 1 prize behind. We have 1 breakout, 3 Greninjas posted up in the back. So
I think a key note here is I think that Ross would have had his Shaman down by now if he had access to it.
Yeah, from what it looked like during his deck search, it was not there, because that could have been the gather there when he grabbed that second Coco.
We see a Field Blower knocking off that Brooklet Hill. Sycamore kind of keeping things a little hidden from us here. I think I saw a Remoraid in there. I'm not too sure what the other 2 cards are. He's got 7. He's going to try and cobble something together here because he is on a back foot and reeling right now.
Yeah, well, Stretcher and Guzman, I was also discarded up with Sycamore, so, and like we were saying before, he needs to find these energies, and I believe he has the double colorless there in that first slot.
At least he's going to be able to continue pressuring an attack. Ross's deck, although key with all its tech attackers and spread damage abilities. His cards are turning up in a very odd order this game, and hasn't really been able to apply the full stranglehold of his deck's approach.
Why I feel is the matchup is unfavorable for Ross. If anyone could pull it off, it is him. We've seen him do numerous comebacks before in matches where we felt the dex was in his favor, and he was able to pull off some kind of route to victory. So maybe there's something he knows that we don't.
Exactly. Michael plucking up a splash energy off the top there, just going through his options, trying to see maybe, hey, is there a way I can maybe Space Beacon for 2 water this turn? As we saw last turn, Space Beacon really at its strongest when you can get 2 of them, get 2 energy back per beacon. Michael having an issue finding that third Greninja break might be prized. We do know he got rid of 1 early.
Easy money prize on Octillery on the bench, and going back to what we're saying, I think we're going to start seeing some aggro moves here on Michael's slide to just kind of speed up this game and win the game faster.
Ultra Ball for a Frogadier, that's gotta mean the break is prized.
Yep. Do that quick search. I saw the MUEX and another Greninja, but I did not see the break. So
Frogadier coming down, Splash Energy on Greninja, Evo Soda.
Yep.
And are we just that wrong? Fail it. He's like, get this out. He's really thinning out for ends now.
Well, because he just evolved the Frogadier, that's why he couldn't evolve to the Greninja.
Correct.
But thin and out. I think we're gonna see a Sycamore. Is he gonna put the hand up? Yeah. Come on.
No,
my,
serve him twice.
The savagery.
We're not forging friendly relationships here, folks. In round 2, 2 clean Sycamore high fives denied by the old timer Ross Cawthon.
Wow, words can't describe that moment. He came to the quick shoulder lean and couldn't recover back on that. Not today, Mike. Not today.
I just wish we had a face cam so we could see the stank on the face of Ross when he denied that high five.
If we had a face cam, we could honestly make that a Twitch emoji, and it would be incredible right now to have that in the chat.
Get on that, internet, figure it out. Plucking on Ultra Ball off the top. He does have a freed up bench spot here. This is the time, if you have access to it, you got to get that Shaman. You got to do something.
Yeah, especially in this moment where does Ross have any Enhanced Hammer in the deck? No, it's just spread the butter. So,
Gladian. Are we finding Shaman? He is so close to the chest. Having trouble seeing what decisions he's actually making here. We got a reader, folks. Third time this match. We reading each other's cards.
And that's the exciting thing about this. It's just, what does this card do? What does this card do? You actually play this? Like, those kind of moments there. So it's fun to see the decks that are out of the norm, out of that trifecta of what we were stating earlier.
Not sure what Ross grabbed, shuffling that Gladion in. Gonna set his prizes off camera, which caused that confusion a little bit earlier. Ross playing close to the chest and off the board here, not really helping us out in the booth. Checking his notes, crossing stuff off, making adjustments. What else is in my prizes?
Yeah, the next step here, I think the only route left for him is to get the Shaman out. I do see him miss their mind, which does not help at all in this match in particular. The Giant Water Shuriken does do damage counters and not direct damage to bench. So Mr. Mime, useless in this matchup. Yeah,
not pulling a lot of weight here. Spread. Just a gentle wave of the hand, 20 everywhere.
Gentle wave of the hand at 20, gentle wave of the hand on the ignoring of the respectful high five.
Yeah, good night. Michael really needs to get another Greninja breakup because we're kind of hitting a flashpoint here. He has applied pressure. He has gotten 1 Greninja breakup. However, he hasn't been able to convert that into big knockouts on Ross's side of the board. So Michael trying to cobble something together. We see the 4th Greninja coming down. Not another break in sight, which is really what would just blow the doors off this game.
Yeah, once the break comes out, he can honestly just speed up the game and just start taking rapid knockouts with that last Greninja piece prize. Ross will slowly get in a position where he just wipe the board all at once.
Like I said, he's hitting a critical mass, and Michael isn't really pressuring him too much. We've kind of seen this really weird tennis match back and forth of like bizarre tempo swings, but not intentional. They've kind of been due to lack of a certain resource to be able to, okay, now that you've given me a little bit of a breathing point or a little bit of respite, switching gears, but we kind of haven't seen that yet.
Michael's hoping to get this Greninja Brick off the prizes here just to solidify this game. Honestly, the game, I think, in the longevity of how it's set up right now, it's still in Michael's hands. But if Ross can get that Shaman down and take this Greninja out, maybe a hard court, like a hard end right afterwards, the next turn to get rid of it, maybe we can see a comeback on Ross's side.
Michael going through his discard here, seeing what he's got. We see a Super Rod. That can at least buy him back a break here and at least give him access to it. We see first a Space Beacon for Water Energy. Getting it out, because if he played Super Rod before he got it out, he would be priced into putting it back in his deck. And all he wants here is that Super Rod for at least a Greninja break, getting the Froakie in there that he just beaconed away.
Order of operations, guys.
It's key. It's key. Having access to that Water Energy for his Shuriken turn and Evo Soda out of hand. Here we go.
The fourth Evo Soda he's played now. And going back, the power of that card, especially in these type of decks, is just incredible. He's
playing 4 copies of an incredibly streamlined list for this weekend. The only what we'll call spice is that Mew EX, which obviously not necessarily relevant in this game. Gets the Greninja break set up. Now he's just hungry for those waters.
Yep. I think we're actually at this point we're going to start seeing some Shurikens onto Lele. Because he can take out his Coco fine immediately, and then 2 spreads on Lele. Well, we go to the Coco route.
Going to the Coco route, we're going to have a retreat here. I don't believe he has another water. So we're just going to see an attack. Nope, we're saying, meh, retreat, not today. Just going in with an attack there.
He doesn't only have the 6 basic water, so that could be a reason why he's having issues streamlining those giant water Shurikens.
Big emphasis on splash. I think that's a concession to how much Buzzwole is expected today, and Buzzwole can really put that early pressure on and take those knockouts on your stage, basic and stage 1 Pokemon that the Frogs try to implore successfully.
And I think the great thing about the format right now, or great give or take, whoever's speaking it, Enhanced Hammer is essentially almost dropped off of most deck lists. So you have a little more security to play those special energies, the Strongs and Buzzwole, the DCEs and Zor, counters in Ross's deck, and then in Greninja's case, Splash.
Yep. Ross now finding that Parallel City. However, now he's knocking off some squishy targets if he does play that down. And limits Michael's bench, he'll be able to get rid of, that Tapu Fini, that only 2 prizes are on his board, stuff like that.
You can do a couple interesting things here with that too. You can play his side, which, like you're saying, gets rid of a lot of the attackers are trying to KO, or you can play in reverse towards your way and slow down his damage output.
Exactly. We actually see the Shaman that I believe Ross got off his prizes that Michael end away, which was kind of a good read by Michael. He saw Ross a Gladion for something very specific when he knows the full contents of his deck, but didn't play any cards after that, just went for the spread. And I think that's what Michael said, okay, I'll end here, although I'll go down to 4 cards, I'm going to disrupt what Ross was actually trying to target down in his last turn, essentially nullifying the Gladion play.
Yep. And a little bit of poker face there, just trying to kind of read your opponent and taking advantage of when they're trying to make the optimal play and slowing it back down.
Michael saying, I'm getting powered up by my no high fives, hitting Ross with the soul read, shuffle that Shaman in. I'm not getting hit for weakness, not for a little bit anyways. Ross now having to try and use Mallow with no discernible way right now to get those cards immediately into his hand. Shuffling up 2, I would be remiss to say if Shaman wasn't that top card, assuming he's got the energy in his hand to make something happen.
Well, and going back to that Mallow there, a lot of people play with the combo draw cards. So you see with a Rangaroo, Zoroark, Octillery. But with Michael taking out the Octillery early, this Malamar combo has to wait a turn.
Yep. He's got 2 counter energy in hand. I saw that when he was going by a choice band. His hand is primed up. I was about to say,
is he about to shuffle that back in for a second?
That was going to be that's a very un-Ross Cawthon-like play, if so. He does have an extra counter energy that he can use. Putting the counter energy on the Latios, trying to protect that Tapu Koko from knockout. Making Michael waste that 60 damage to take 20 points worth of HP that's left on the Koko.
Doing that hard retreat there is just forcing him to waste his ability on just something little as that. But with 3 prizes left, I think that the end game here is just go one at a time.
Yep.
And we're most likely going to see, unless there's a Guzma in his hand, to use that giant water trigger on it.
That is a big turn. He's going to at least be taking out the Starmie with that 90 HP, already at 60 on it from all those spreads, and 30 to the active. That is one heavily damaged Greninja, folks.
So this is interesting. I think, the spread is catching up at this point, and with the Starmie gone, and him not hitting waters as it is, so this could be really interesting. We already saw the Rest Stretcher go. We already saw the Super Rod go on Mike's side.
Yep.
So this game could actually, like we were saying, if someone could figure out a way, it's Ross Cawthon.
We've just been struggling. Both of them have been struggling just to switch gears, be able to make impactful plays. Even last turn, yes, Michael got the other Greninja breakout. Only one Ninja Star came through. Only one Shuriken came down. And that's, again, they're just kind of giving each other a little bit of wiggle room to try and play.
So I was incorrect. I thought I saw him discard a Risk Restrictor earlier, but fortunately enough, he still had it in his hand. So we do see a starting break come back to the deck.
Which is obviously going to be crucial for him to close out this game.
I wonder what an interesting thing, going back to what we stated at first with the 2-star use, if with the 2 stars, it gives you a chance to use the Red Stretcher as a quick grab for the Starmie instead of recover back in the deck with those pieces because you play 2-star use.
Right, exactly. I would like to note, Clean Sycamore didn't offer the high five that time. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. Well, that's just yes, yes. E-Hammer number 2 coming down. A great deck list choice that happens to be working out very, very nicely in Michael's favor.
I honestly really enjoyed the play of Greninja this weekend. I think Giratina Promo has slowly fallen off the map. So whoever's playing this weekend, if they can find the consistencies that Greninja typically lacks on at times, I can see it having heavy success this weekend.
So something I've noticed is Michael is still keeping up the shadow stitching instead of going with the Moonlight Slash. I'm not too sure what he's worried about in Ross's deck anymore. However, I think I would be, especially how we've been talking about, you keep giving Ross a little bit of room to breathe, and he can come back into this game very easily. Any one of his spread attackers right now takes that Greninja break knockout.
Well, here's the thing with that too. He is just one Shuriken and attack away with either Greninja from winning this game.
That's very true.
So I think because of that, he's like, you know what, let me take away the fact abilities, no Lele plays, no shenanigans there to catch up and just solidify the game in its own right now. Ross would need to get rid of the energy on board, and on top of take the knockout. So I think the writing's on the wall right here. I'm not sure what else Ross can do in this sense.
This has been...
He can't take both knockouts right now.
This has been a marathon game 1 between these 2 one-prize attacker decks. Really doing it old school and taking one prize at a time.
And that's going to be the story of this weekend, honestly. I think the successful decks from this weekend is going to come from the non-GX, EX attackers sufficiently working for you.
We see the damage limiting side on Michael and an end to 2.
That might be a key point here. So with the damage side there, he can cap at 80 damage on the, not cap, 60 damage with the Parallel City out, which does not knock out that Latios, which gives him 1 extra turn to take an additional knockout on the break.
So I'm thinking Michael kind of wants to see a couple waters here because he is going to be, I believe there's a splash energy on the bench to Greninja break. He's going to be able to pick that up, get to another break, and hopefully a couple waters, water and water.
Wow.
Water.
Wow.
We're going. How many times have we seen it? And just doesn't matter.
He has a water energy for each Sycamore high five he did not get.
that is karma at its finest, folks. 2 high fives denied, 2 water energies off the top. Ross, still no shame in sight. Boom. Taking that KO there. We got splash energy.
And you know what? We didn't even put that in consideration here. Even though he's taking that Greninja break, he can still set up a second one because of splash energy.
That was my point with those 2 waters, Jeff, is he's picking that up. He's evolving to break. We're going to go Ninja Star, Moonlight Slash, and let's get out of here, yeah?
Yep.
And
he wants him to
there
play it out.
We go.
Okay. You got a high five out of that one, so, kudos.
We got no high fives, but a very awkward handshake. I wouldn't be that excited if I was slinging out perfect Sycamore high fives. And it wasn't even Michael, his own perfect Sycamores. It was one on Ross's side, one on Michael's, no love either time, 2 waters off the top on the end. And that's pretty much how you write it up, folks.
So let's go back to the game there. Ross actually set it up really well to put himself in position to kind of come back in that game. But Michael hitting those 2 waters off the end of 2 is insane.
This was essentially like a potato sack race.
Yeah.
It was clumsy. People were falling over. But eventually Michael limped across the finish line, was able to get a Game 1 win. And there about a little under 18 minutes left on the clock. And if Game 1 is any indication, Michael just needs to hold on, do his thing, make sure that Ross can't sweep his GX attackers to take some easy knockouts, and I think he's going to find himself the 101 victor here.
Play like Drake, just hold on, we're going home.
Good night. Good night. That is what we're doing here. Ridiculous Drake-related references and a little bit of shuffling action, which they got a lot of practice in game 1. I think they were going back-to-back ends 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Finally, somebody was able to draw something relevant and make
Honestly,
this a game.
As long as Mike doesn't just, brick, essentially, I think he can kind of coast to victory at this point.
I mean, he can't get a much worse start than Tapu Fini. I think I don't want to jinx him here, folks, but
you might be jinxing him because I think that's another Tapu Fini start.
And is the only supporter a Sycamore in there? Because
Sycamore,
I know I saw Frogadier.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of Frogadier. So this is going to be a little bit of an awkward turn in decision making. So maybe we'll see a turn 1 end from him.
All right, we're okay. 0 for 2 on high fives, 2 for 2 on bizarre handshakes.
And we see prizes, all right? So we're all good in this match now.
Yeah, Ross is like, okay, guys, don't sweat it. They're here, I promise. We see, I think, a counter energy choice band. Counter energy is going to go down. Floatstone there. DCE counter. I think he has 3 of those double energies in his hand right now.
And I'm sure he's thinking this mind. Where were you turns 3 and 4?
Yeah.
Last game.
Not showing up. So getting rid of 2 counters here. Lele looking good. I don't know if he has another draw supporter in hand. If he does not, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Cynthia or an N here because you just can't be bridgeting without any backup supporter to play.
Exactly. That's kind of like the trade-off there with bridging. Make sure you want that backup supporter there. But if he bridges, does he grab the Shaman now or does he wait?
I don't think he can get too punished early game for grabbing the Shaman. I think if you can DCE it up, you already have them use the free retreater. If you can get at, if Mike only puts 1 Froakie down like he did game 1, he can just start picking those off with the Shaman.
That's a very good point there. That Shaman can kind of just slide in there and while he would need the Rainbow and the Colorless to do his attack without counter energy to come to effect, if he can set that up and put pressure on that Froakie, could see that as a slowdown for Michael.
Yep. So Ross digs up Eladios. He does have a Sycamore in hand, which probably prompts that non-Tapu Lele play. He's just going to play his hand down. Let's see. Are we going to get the 3rd denied Sycamore? Yeah, Michael didn't even reach for it. And he goes, nah.
No, not even going to try this time. We're not having fun here.
0 for 2
we're
will
playing
stay.
for keeps.
Yeah, 0 for 2 will stay. Didn't offer the 3rd one, didn't offer the 4th one.
So this is actually a pretty cool thing that he did here. So with the Mew active, with Rainbow Energy on there, Mew can copy the Shaman's attack from the bench. However, he will not get the effect of the weakness.
Correct. And as we know, Mew, a very soft Pokemon, especially in the look of Tapu Fini, which can do that. I think it's something ring. Aqua Ring?
Aqua Ring, 20 down, and then if you really want to get spicy...
Wowzer, look at that Sycamore. Rescue Stretcher, Greninja Break, 2 Greninjas, Frogadier. Michael is just trying to hold on now.
So he still has 1 Super Rod left, which obviously is going to go for his Greninja pieces. It essentially has to. But I'm curious if he just could have held out a little bit. Your game 1 took a while. Ross has to do a lot to take out this Tapu Fini. Maybe a couple turns of, let me see if I get a Froakie, and hold out. But to his response, he's like, no, I want to get set up and kind of solidify the game.
Right. I think he's really pinning his hopes on that Super Rod is in there, and he finds it fairly soon. Get those pieces back in, preferably, honestly, this turn or next. So if he does manage to go for Dupes Me Daddy, we can get at least 2, hopefully 3 Frogadier on the bench.
Exactly there. I do think he's going to see Aqua Ring here, just to slowly chip out this Mew and waste that Rainbow Energy attachment.
No reason not to right now. No reason not to. Rainbow Energy makes it so instead of 3 attacks, he only needs to do 2 with that Aqua Ring, 20 damage down. So Michael playing to what he can right now.
He does have the option to do Tapu Storm GX, but I think that's completely the incorrect play in the sense to let him get advantage of having a Rainbow back in his deck and not taking prizes. So Aqua Ring will probably be the choice of attack here.
Kind of saw a slowdown in action. Curious to see if they're asking maybe the judge a question there. Maybe Ross asking like, hey, doesn't he have to rotate that out? Which with Tapu Fini you do not need to on that Aqua Ring. You actually have the choice.
Yep,
so he's going to leave it in the active. He's going to leave that in the active. It's beefier than his Froakie, and there is a premium on that Froakie right now, especially after that very rough turn 1 Sycamore.
So with Ross on his side, he's actually going to take advantage of the Brooklyn Hill, which stadiums do play both ways. You can take the effect on both sides as a player. And I can see another Rim Raid coming down because not having artillery last game hindered him a little bit.
Yeah, he is playing a 2-2 line exactly to avoid scenarios like last time. We see a Guzma here.
So this is exactly what's going to happen here. And going back to taking out that Froakie, you don't need Shaman to do it because Lagoon Flight, baby, can do that 70 and knock it out.
Lagoon Flight, too strong. We're going to Guzma that up. We're going to see a retreat into Mew, and we're going to be flying.
Yep.
We do know he has that DC. He started with a very heavy energy hand. It was Rainbow and 2 counter energies. Got the Rainbow down, and a clean Sycamore turn 1 gave him that option for that play. Field blower to limit Michael's development here, and
this is actually a pretty strong turn from Roz. This is exactly what he needed. Take away the search power for Michael, and take out his only Froakie, which is crucial for Greninja.
Yeah, if Ross can snake his way into winning Game 2, I'm going to call 911 because we've just witnessed a robbery. With how long that first game was and kind of how this one should have set up to be in any normal circumstance, Ross probably wouldn't have had a chance to close it out.
See, it is so going back to what I was trying to push for Michael earlier to where what if he just held back? Because one thing he could have done if Mew were to load up these 2 energies on him, Tapu Storm GX, reset.
Yep. We've seen Aquaring here, another attachment to Tapu Fini, which means Hydro Shot is now on the table.
Hydro Shot is in his thoughts, but I'm sure he's going to eye that Lele for a giant wash later on in the game.
Yep. Hydro Shot again, doing, I believe it's 120 anywhere, discard 2 waters. Floatstone down, Shaman down, which is something Michael did not see Game 1. Shaman with the strong read after the Gladion to shuffle it back into Ross's deck. We are under the assumption that is what he took.
Yep. Froakie safe this round and being played as a supporter for Ross this turn, so we could see that Dupes Me Daddy next turn.
Yeah, depending on what Michael draws here, if he benches another Froakie, maybe Michael goes into a Hydro Shot turn. It's really hard to tell. We see Splash, Brooklet, Frogadier. However, there's not a lot of light at the end of this tunnel for Greninja here because he hasn't recycled those 2 Greninjas, that Frogadier, and that Greninja break from that turn 1 Sycamore.
So I wonder what Michael will do his next turn because, you can actually Hydro Shot if you get the 3rd energy, take out that Shaman, and then still have a hard retreat next turn for your water duplicates. But the problem here is I think there's 2, for sure, maybe 3 waters already in the discard.
He Ultra Ball 2 away. So there's at minimum 2. And he hasn't got his Staryu down to be able to evolve into that Starmie and start space beaconing. I think Ross is kind of using the Shaman as a diversion.
Yeah.
Ross would 110% be okay with Michael committing another energy to Tapu Fini, sniping down the Shaman, and not impacting what his real attackers are right now.
So the Splash actually goes on Frogadier. I did see a Staryu in his hand, but I think he's going to hold off on benching that because you don't need a Space Beacon until the breaks are out.
Correct.
So
we see Brooklet Hill coming down. No, it's not. Pulled right back into the hand. What's Michael's kind of thought process here? He already committed the energy to the Frogadier, which lends me to believe that you're going to dupes now or you're going to dupes never.
I think he should know by now his counts of what Frogadiers are left in his deck too. It should hopefully be the 2 that's left after the Sycamore earlier in the game. So I think he's decided, do I just want to take the high, just keep Aqua ringing, or go ahead and Dupes Me Daddy and get the Frogadiers out?
So I think Michael knows at maximum he has 2 Frogadiers, so maybe benching the Staryu now is safe because if he gets paralleled, he can just bump that Fini. However, there's been a lot of water energy investment in that Fini and on that Ultra Ball. So he may want to, I would think maybe get it down. At this point, you got to risk a little something because you're spinning your wheels a little bit.
Here's the thing with that Staryu bench, right? So if they bench the Staryu and you saw your Rest Stretcher go, you're going to have to use your Super Rod on the breaks that you lost earlier. If you bench that Staryu, it's just a Guzma DC with that Lele away to knock it out. And now you're losing all of your energy recovery.
Right. That's a great point. And we do know that there's 3 water in the discard, 1 on Tapu Fini, which looking at his list means he has 2 basic waters left and 3 splash somewhere in his deck or prizes.
So I think he wants to just kind of get the bulk up with the Greninjas, like get them evolved, get the HP up, and then put that Staryu down.
Yep.
With some Shadow Stitch action.
Ross kind of, I'm not going to say getting lucky by any means, but, I think he was okay with that Shaman getting knocked out because that means Michael had to overcommit to that Tapu Fini.
Yep.
However, the fact now that it's on the board is just a silver lining for what was already a pretty good turn for him.
Mm-hmm.
We see Gladion.
I think it's the Ultra Ball he played there a little bit off screen right now after his Gladion play.
We see, I think, a Cynthia go down. Not sure what that other card is. Getting Octillery, going to get his draw support set up. He goes, hey, there's no breaks on the other side. And Mike's got a lot more to wade through before he can start pegging off my draw support.
And I think it's playing to the fact that he lost a lot of resources early with that Sycamore. So, I think I'm pretty safe right now. If I can maybe get an end, to put some more cards back into his deck, maybe he can kind of put the rings on his side to win.
So we see Counter Energy, Mr. Mime. I think a Rescue Stretcher there.
Counter Energy has no effect currently. Both players are at 5 prizes. Which I wonder if he realized that at this point, that is.
I'm sure he does. He's just trying to properly attach because he's not going to be getting an attack off this turn based on the other contents of his hand. So let me attach this intelligently somewhere, and hopefully I can do something next turn with another attachment, maybe a rainbow, what have you.
And that's so interesting to me because, with these attached with special energies, he played 2 Enhanced Hammer. So it's kind of risky attaching energy with no immediate response for it, with the special energies you have.
Yeah. Michael pulling out all the stops here, getting a Froakie on the bench. Staryu comes down. He's got a full bench. Honestly, he is playing everything down, making Ross go through all 5 of those prizes and say, you got to beat me. You lost that long game 1. Michael, decent, reasonable pace of play so far. Hopefully we don't see that become a factor. However, he is entitled to correctly playing his stuff down and making Ross earn it. That's his prerogative.
With less than 6 minutes left on the clock, Ross is going to have to, find the cards he needs. Starts Cocoa spreading. Maybe use the Latios liability to activate that counter energy. I'm trying to figure out a path to victory here. But again, it is Ross. He has a plan.
The man with the plan. So we see the end here. Evo Soda is going to go a long way getting one of the 2 Greninjas that are left. My question to you is, was there any point in Game 1 where Ross could have scooped to give himself the opportunity to win 2?
I think when he realized that that Greninjas were not coming out, and breaks weren't coming out, the first time, that he could potentially do the spread play. But I think in that instance there, I probably would have scooped a little bit earlier once you realized that you couldn't get your spreads optimally there, and he was able to draw the Water Striker at least once a turn. I probably would have scooped a little earlier.
You see Shadow Stitching limiting the ability of Ross to use Abyssal Hand. DCE on Latios, so we're going to start seeing that 30-30 come down. Staryu only 40 HP. So
exactly. So and going back to the whole question about picking it up and going to game 2, with these players, you got to realize at times when the game is inevitable and when it's actually winnable.
Correct. Now, I can understand how that might have been hard to discern game 1 because both of these decks, Ross clearly designed that way with all the counter cards, and historically Greninja always play from behind.
Yep.
They want to rally back into the game and become overwhelmingly oppressive in the mid to late while you've kind of expended your resources. So this jockeying match, I can understand how it was maybe difficult to see when that turning point actually was, where you were no longer able to rally back and win. We see the 30-30 spread on the Staryu, as we mentioned, which is fine. That's a great place to put it because Starmie with that 90 HP still keeps that 30-30-30 multiple. So he's not losing much by putting it there. However, it pressures Michael right now to get that Starmie down and at least save a couple energy.
I like to point out you threw out a really small pun there saying rally back because that is Shaman's counter attack.
Are you serious?
Call rally back.
Good Lord, he's smart, folks.
Yeah, he's sliding it
get
in
me,
there.
Get me a monocle and a top hat. I'm feeling classy. We see an Ultra Ball coming down. I would be hard-pressed to see if Michael gets rid of another water energy.
You have to hold him at this point. You have to. But unless the thought in mind is, I'm getting my Starmie now.
He does have already 3 in the discard. And no other attachment in sight, unless I missed it while I was giving myself credit on a pun that I unintentionally did. We see Ultra Ball. Is that double Cynthia? Going to the bin. Starmie coming down. Space Beacon will be live.
So I'm curious. I'm trying to think.
Just kidding.
Right now.
Just kidding.
Oh, he switched it for the Greninja. Okay, so that changed my thought process completely because if I was in the spot right now, I would go ahead and do the Giant Water Shuriken on the Shaman and do a Shadow Stitch. That way, you're not taking a knockout. Shaman can't activate the Rally back.
Yep.
And you're set up your board.
So we see a Sycamore here. Water Shuriken is in fact hitting that Shaman. Michael bracing himself for a potential rally back. Another energy on Tapu Fini getting held close to the grip. We see a splash as well. Definitely don't want to be using a splash on Fini. There's not a lot of value in recycling that guy. And of course I say that, and lo and behold, Michael plucks up the card off the table, switches it up, making me look like a fool all day long today. I mean, not as bad as Ross made him look by denying those 2 high fives, but here we are.
I think the line goes, we're in the booth. They're on a table.
Exactly right. Exactly right. They don't want to highlight us, nor would we like to be highlighted either. We've seen Evo Soda coming down.
So, I mean, he's just going through the steps right now. Shadow Stitch, yep, like we were saying, and he did do the Giant Water Shuriken on the Shaman on bench, so slowly setting up the victory lap for him.
Yep. We see minute 45 now on the clock. Ross, I don't necessarily see how he closed this in time. I mean, I think the pace of play has been great, but Ross historically not known for being the speediest of players.
Well, there aren't any heavy hitters in the deck. That's the problem. So his deck is built to, like we were saying before, rally back, cover behind, hit the attackers for weakness, and with Greninja pretty much a similar role, it's kind of hard to battle against each other.
We're going to free retreat, see a spread here, really just kind of setting up some numbers all across the board. I would be remiss to see if Michael has it available to him, a Shuriken on that Shaman, taking it out, because I think he kind of sees that as the final piece to get rid of to ensure himself not losing this game in swift fashion.
That's 100% what's going to happen his next turn. He's going to Giant Water Shuriken that Shaman, DC off the threat that is Tapu Koko.
We've seen those 2 enhanced hammers being a big deal this whole time. Cynthia still had one despite dumping the other 2 earlier on the Ultra Ball. Shuffling up, presenting. Here we go.
The steps are just flowing for Michael right now, and it is becoming ever more tough for Ross to come back. Under 30 seconds, we're getting to the 3 turns left. For those that do not know the rules, when time runs out in a Swiss match, players have 3 turns.
Yep.
0, 1, and 2. Turn 0 being whoever turn it is, or if there's attack called, it follows to the next player.
Yep. We do see that Shuriken come down on that Shaman. Again, as we mentioned, the only grass attacker that Ross has. Michael was able to pull back 2 water, so we're going to see another Shuriken here. Knockout. Despite the resources that Michael dumped so early, 2 Greninja, 1 Frogadier, 1 Break, look at this board he was able to put together with those limited resources. Saving on that Staryu till the turn he needed to get it down. So important here.
We got to merit that, even with the Koko spreads, and this end of 2 is almost irrelevant now because you have the Starmie. You're going to get your energies regardless of what you draw.
Yep, especially with the attachment to the Tapu Koko. He knows he's going to have his Starmie guaranteed another turn. He's at least going to be able to double Shuriken. See, maybe have a question to the judge here. Michael shuffling.
Yeah, I'm curious what the question here is for debate. The end was played. Mike is still shuffling, but we're curious what's going to happen here.
We see here. Okay, so we're getting a note from the hot desk here. Mike drew 6 cards off an end of 5. Apparently 7 minutes ago, contacting a judge right now to see what can be done about that. What a sour way for this game to finish out if that is indeed what happens. We did not catch it, obviously, here in the booth, trying to keep track of a lot of things. Shout outs to those of you in the chat that did catch it and were able to help bring it to the attention of our stream team here so we can make those adjustments.
So I'll do that, seeing the sports games, hey, we got the ref here, what do you think should happen here? So from what I know of the end play, incorrect drawing of cards and game state being broken, essentially because they kept playing, falls on both players. So in that aspect, it could be a double game loss there, which would leave Michael as the victor.
Yep.
But it looks like they're just still playing, or they're still waiting it out. I'm not sure where they're at right now. But I would venture to guess that it would be a double game loss because the game did proceed after that effect. This was about 7-8 minutes ago.
Yep, that's what we're getting here. I think the judge is sorting it out. Not too sure. It looks like what it was assessed was a 2-prize penalty, if we're getting the information correct. So Ross down to only taking 3 prizes. However, the clock now going to have to be readjusted for any judge-related time that came in. They do get some of that time back. Interesting to see if that's what's going to make or break this game.
I'm not sure because Ross, I guess, goes down to, what is it, 3 or 4 prizes now? I can't really tell. But you know, with the 2-prize penalty there, but it's still, I mean, I think the writing's still on the wall for Michael. He has the Starmie out. He has to still do 2 Cocoa spreads, but I see this Cocoa type of Cocoa being eliminated in the next turn with some Giant Water Shuriken. So I just don't see anything else, honestly.
Yeah, so they're playing on, Pressure of the Lights. These are 2 phenomenal players used to being here. However, accidents happen. And now that we have a system in place to appropriately penalize those things and allowing the judge to keep track of them, the best we can do is bring it up when we notice it and hope that, the game isn't completely screwed to the point where we can't redeem it in any fashion.
Yep. And great job by the judges to get on that quickly, and great job by the chat to let us know what is going on there. Like we said before, little things can be missed on camera.
Yep. It's when you have things like that, it's a little bit difficult to jump right into the action. We're trying to gather a lot of information. Ross has kind of been thumbing back through. There's no more time on the clock. We see a Cocoa spread here. I don't know if that means because there's no time left in the round. If any time has been added to the clock, we're kind of flying blind here, but we're going to just see how this shakes out and do the best we can.
The tough thing with these judge calls is that it's a momentum killer at times.
Yep.
Especially on Michael's side where you're getting everything rolling and it goes into Ross' turn and you guys catch something like that. So
we have Ross questioning how much damage should be on that Tapu Fini. I believe 40 to be correct. 2 Cocoa spreads. When he was using Latios, he was targeting that Staryu at the time.
Yep.
And as you see,
hitting an active Greninja.
Yep.
So.
And as you see, the Froakie Frogadier have been in play just as long as that Tapu Fini. 40 is the right amount. I think we're all on the same page.
If the 2-prize penalty was assessed, for what we're seeing on the screen, it technically should be 3 prizes left for Ross. Ross can take 2 prizes next turn.
Yeah, so with the new prize rules, Ross doesn't actually take those prizes. He's just got to take 2 less.
Okay.
So this N, what normally would be to 3 is still going to be to 5.
Okay.
So you can see how that, that new rule coming to play right now. Again, with the big thought of those counter cards that have come out, when you actually take prizes, you trigger those cards. You make them live, if you will. And Pokemon trying to mitigate that, being able to use those cool concept cards and not allowing prize penalties to leverage the game like that. We see targeted on Octillery, which leads me to believe we're going to see another one on that Octillery. Let's take it out of the game. Put that squeeze on Ross. Michael taking yet another prize. Not much I think Ross can do here.
Yeah, I think at this point, because now he's within big play here to where he could just take out the Cocoa, double spread on that Cobalion on bench for the game. And even though Ross can take 2 prizes next turn, almost 3, he's just 10 short on that Frogadier in the middle. But I think with that's the play in mind here is just a double Shuriken next turn, guaranteed with the Starmie. Well, actually, no, he's about to lose the Starmie, so he needs to get the energy back before the Cocoa can attack.
So 2 prizes left. Do you think we're going to see a Shadow Stitch, Giant Water Shuriken, Hydro Shot on Cobalion?
He already used the Water Shuriken, if I'm not mistaken, but I think a Moonlight Slash is the play here, so that way your Starmie stays alive.
Great point.
So now he has no spread attackers. He's forced to put up Cobalion and have to get a float stone on it to get another spread attacker back in. There's a lot of pieces that Ross needs right now, and Michael is just, you have the enemy to get me out of this game because I'm winning right now.
Yep. Choice Band off the top, not what the doctor ordered here for Ross. Ross's deck really not really situated to take care of these 1 prize attacking decks like Greninja. It really tries to hit for weakness on the big GXs of the format and win that way with easy prizes with his own 1 prize attackers. Michael's deck just doing it a little bit better this game.
And I think, if there's a couple things that, one, if he would have been, Ross could have been matched up to one of the trifecta decks, I think that would be a whole different match right now as he's built to compete with that. But I wonder if missing a Tina promo is actually taking this matchup way over ahead for Michael Slutsky here.
Very much so. A lot of people kind of getting burned by playing Tina promo, playing a 9-round tournament, sacrificing some consistency, never facing Greninja.
Yep.
It's the most infuriating thing. Ross, seeing no more outs, scoops it up. Looks like that prize penalty assessed to Michael, not going to be the difference maker in this one. So, back in the booth here, kind of a roller coaster ride of a game 2 from kind of what we thought it was going to be. Michael really able to do a lot of work with not a lot of resources. After that brutal Sycamore turn 1.
After our initial thoughts, we thought the matchup was going to be super unique. We thought maybe Ross knows something we didn't in regards to that matchup, but it seemed that the Greninja deck just was way overpowering over that spread deck.
Well, I think what we saw game 1 was Shaman prized, end away. Never got to use it. Game 2, benched it, attached to it. Was never able to actually get it in the active and do what it's supposed to do and hit those grass weak Pokemon. It got eaten alive on the bench, couple Ninja Stars to the dome piece, it fell off the face of the earth. No chance of rallying back there.
And I think, going back to that too, is, Michael also played that well to where knowing that the only way he can kind of, take a lead on the game is through the Shaman, so you control his prize output there and his damage output through that by Shadow Stitching and Giant Water Stricken on the Shaman.
Yep. So it didn't trigger that counter energy. Didn't allow Ross to use it. Great kind of situational awareness by Michael to kind of see the whole picture, understanding Shaman is Ross's route to a quick victory and pulling this game out to a draw, to the match to a draw, and be able to adjust accordingly.
Yep. So we'll have a player interview here with Michael Slutsky, the winner of round 2, and we'll be back with you here shortly. And we're back after the round 2 finish. Victor here, Mr. Michael Slutsky with an incredible Greninja GX deck. Let's walk through that round 1. How'd you feel about the matchup? You see Latios flipped over and you have your Tapu Fini start, so what's kind of going through your head?
Yeah, so I had heard before the round some whispers about what he was playing, so I figured it was some weird counterbox thing. So actually the only thing I was worried about in that entire match was if he were in Giratina promo, because if he didn't, then I could just freely kind of chump his little guys. So he flipped out the Latias. I didn't really care. Ross plays whatever, so it was just whatever.
The tempo of that game 1 was so weird to where you guys were constantly Cynthia and there was times where it just took forever to set up. Did at any point in that game 1 did you feel kind of distraught from the slow setup?
No, I knew that his deck relies on counter energy. So I need to be winning. So I knew if I wasn't winning, he wasn't going to really be doing much. So I could just kind of take my time. He wouldn't high five me. When I sycamored. So
we definitely emphasize that when the numerous times you gave him the opportunity to do so. So we definitely think that kind of came back with that end of 2 in the end where you hit both water energy.
Yeah.
So sliding to game 2, the Shaman comes to the field. What was your immediate thought there?
I knew he probably played Shaman as well, more for Lycanroc than Greninja, but I figured if he's running counter energy, it has to be there. And I just knew that if I killed the Shaman right away, then he could never really use it because I just Shadow Stitching him the whole time. So I was never really worried. I don't know if he played Giratina promo. I don't think so because he probably would have put it down, and that's all I cared about in that matchup.
Yeah, so at what point during that game 2 do you realize that, hey, I can actually start Moonlight Slashing over Shadow Stitching?
When I knocked out his Octillery, that play where I knocked out the Octillery and knocked out the Coco, I knew he wouldn't have a free retreat, and he was kind of looking at his discard and looking at his hand, so I figured he had some sort of play there. So I end him the turn that I did that to make it so he had to get it off of that end, otherwise he was going to lose. So
yeah, definitely there. So I had to ask though, so everyone knows about the 3 main decks in the format right now, and you came here with Greninja today. What was your reasoning behind that?
Well, I actually don't care about the current format. I casted Roanoke last week, and this week I just asked a friend for a deck. I was like, what should I play? And Joey Rudiker was just just play Greninja. So I didn't even think about it. I just sleeved it up. I don't care what happens here. I'm just having fun.
Awesome. Congratulations on your round 2 win. 2-0, strong start, and good luck to you the rest of the day.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a short break. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll have some more content for you here going forward.